I've been there. Where you're doing certain things on Friday nights, Saturday nights, and have the nerve and the gall to go preach on a Sunday morning.
Ignition sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Obliterating social norms and overrunning the cultural corrosion with righteous rhetoric and common sense. This is Overflow, the extended conversation covering life, today's newsbreakers, and the occasional banter with the most interesting members of the human species. Signaling from the conservative chasm of Central Valley, California. It's the outlaws your conscience warned you about. Let's welcome your hosts, Loto and PhillVill.
What's going on, extended family? It's your boy Loto and PhillVill here in the conservative chasm of the left coast with episode 31.
Episode 31, here we go.
Woo! PhillVill, let's drop the show drip, brother.
All right, we got a big lineup, some entertainment. We're going to be talking about the slap heard across the world. Chris Rock is back and some jokes are dropping, and they're dropping. They're funny. Yeah, and the derailment in Ohio, there's some additional ones. You got to talk about that. CPAC, some highlights, takeaways, some controversies, and, of course, some drag for babies.
Wow.
I don't know. It's crazy. And then Hershey-gate, Chocolate-gate. Yep, we'll find out.
Or sure. Or what is it? I don't get it.
It's surprise. We'll find out. And Russell Brand, Joe Rogan. They're making some people upset. Quote unquote propagandist nutcrackery.
Yeah.
Of course, some entertainment and movies. And lots of other great stuff. And don't miss the extended conversation with Loto and PhillVill. And a lot more. Loto, you've been on a roll in ministry. It just everywhere lately, just continuing. God is moving. And you were at a special event that happened at Cornerstone this past weekend?
Yeah. But before we get to that, bro, speaking of the event, it was a prayer worship night. You had a worship night on, what was it, Friday, matter of fact.
Yes. Man, we had a blast. On Friday night, we had about 7 churches on the platform.
Praise
just
God.
Ministering, coming together in time to worship. And my wife, I'm telling you, she had the MVP of the night. If you guys, you gotta look up that song, "I Speak Jesus." Man.
Powerful song. Love it.
And she just went all out, man. It was so powerful. But I look forward to that and a whole lot more. Great time. First one actually in about 6-7 months that we had since we had Verge.
Amen.
So, but I know that you guys have been a prayer revival taking place always out there at Cornerstone. What happened this past weekend?
Yeah. Again, man, it was a great follow up to the Empower Your Prayer Clinic. Pastor did a couple weeks ago. So on Saturday we're doing prayer and worship night. A lot more prayer. Which really just emboldened the worship. It was really cool, bro, because at Cornerstone we have the 8:00 prayer service on Sunday mornings. But this night, it's somewhat of the 8 a.m. prayer power hour, but with less restrictions because we're not rushing things to get ready for the 9 a.m. So man, we had a whole evening of just amazing prayer, teaching on prayer, just God just moving into place while pastors sharing the vision that God's given him. In regards to the prayer army that God is raising up, bro. So it was so, man. So. Remember when we were in youth group, man, we'd have 2 people lining up, lining up and facing each other, and then have youth, walk through those lines while people are praying over them, right?
Yeah.
And just, and we call it the prayer car wash, Man, we did the same thing on Saturday, bro, except it was you remember what I talked about last week about the 2 generations, the older generation, the younger generation, explained in Joel chapter 2, verse 28. It was amazing, bro. So pastor actually called, all the 50 plus up, 50 and plus age group up, and they were on the sides, and they had their hands in the air, and started praying. And then you had 49 and under walking underneath them, under their hands, oh my goodness, bro. It was so powerful, man. One of the greatest testimony I heard from that evening was from the esposa herself, Rhea was talking about, she was leading me through it, but she was praying, and really, just praying, Yeah. And she said just out of nowhere, a little more than halfway through, she's walking and people are praying. And she said, the story about the woman with the issue of blood.
Yes.
And how she came, and she was determined that if I could just touch the garment of Jesus, I know I'll be healed. And Jesus walking, through a throng of crowds, and everybody's just pushing him around and all that. And then he stops, right? And he says, who was that? You know, who touched me?
Yes.
And remember his disciples start cracking up like, what are you talking about?
Everybody's
Jesus?
touching you, yeah.
Yeah, like everybody's touching you. He said, but no, I felt healing virtue leave me. I felt power leave me. You know, and then the lady, you know, she started crying. She, you know, she told on herself, it was me, Lord, you know. So Maria had the same type of experience, except it was opposite. She said she was walking through and just there was a moment where she don't know what was going on. All she felt was like power had entered into her.
Yeah.
Like she just got, you know, just this rush of power, you know, and man, bro, I mean, it was over from that point, bro. She went, I mean, I pretty much got, you know, left behind, you know, she walked me to the stage and just, you know, and left me there because, man, she was just having her moment with God.
Yeah, praise God.
And it was amazing, brother. It was so amazing. Bro, I could barely even stand. I had to hit my knees, man, or I was going to fall back. You know, God's presence was so heavy, man. But yeah, so that's what's going on. Matter of fact, we're going to be doing this every first Saturday of the month. For those of you that are in the Fresno, Clovis surrounding area, man, come join us right there at Cornerstone every Saturday evenings.
Yeah, it's speaking of Juvenile Hall. I just remember, came to memory right now. I just remember seeing the countenance of a lot of the kids that just come like with walls up in a sense, like, okay, it's just they're not sure what to expect by the end of that service. Man, their tears are coming down. You see them just receiving just in the word and the worship and just different things. And I know that you guys are continuing, ongoing, reaching those kids. You
know what? Yes. And, you know, a matter of fact, man, you just remind me of something which I'm probably going to get in trouble from Maria, you know, but for those of you that are listening, for those of you that have a skill, a talent in worship, and speaking of, you know, worship nights and Verge and all that, man, you know, that's one area that we could always use help with, you know.
Yes.
PhillVill, you know, we do a lot of services in there, you know. And so, you know, it's a tough commitment because a lot of worship leaders, you know, instrument players, they're already busy on Sunday mornings, you know. But if you're sitting there and you've got the itch and, man, you want to do, you know, something for God and, you know, give, you know, email us, Facebook me, message us, you know, and let's see what God has in store.
Well, it's about that time. It's time for...
It's your news makers and breakers.
Chris Rock. Okay, do you remember this last year? The slap that was heard across the world. Will Smith went on stage, slapped Chris Rock right in the middle of his monologue because some words about his wife. And of course, Will Smith has apologized. But a year later, finally, Chris Rock is speaking out with a special on Netflix, which I have not yet seen. But my understanding is he's speaking about what he's calling the outrage, a fake outrage or selective outrage, quote unquote. Chris Rock Selective Outrage was a special that was filmed in Baltimore and now is on Netflix. And so, Loto, I know you have a lot to say about this because he's really been an advocate for free speech because comedy is not comedy without free speech.
I don't have too much to say. Only that, man, selective outrage with Will Smith. I don't know how selective it is when somebody's talking about your wife, you know. But this special could have been. It could have been entitled, you know, Chris Says It Better, because he's not really saying a whole lot of things new. You're going to see Chris raw, and this is a great platform for him. And I'm glad that he took the opportunity and took advantage of the moment because he does have a lot of great things to say, bro. For the most part, he's pretty right on a lot of things, especially when it comes, like you said, to freedom of speech. He's actually quit on college campuses quite a few years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Because, you know, how woke they were and how sensitive they were, you know. And that he couldn't, you know, say certain things, you know, because he said something and they're trying to cancel him, bro. So, yeah, I'm glad that he's doing this.
Yes.
And I'm glad that he's saying this again, just in case those people that needs to hear it didn't hear it the first time.
Update from last week, Loto, we talked about the train derailments in Ohio. Well, there's more that's taking place. I guess another one, 20 North, and Breitbart is reporting another Ohio train derailment claims 20 Norfolk Southern cargo cars. So there's a lot of some people are saying is this a conspiracy or is this just a pandemic of is this just a regulation being cut from Trump or what is going on there?
How many chances do you get? How is it that Norfolk is still operating these trains? Like, I think it's the fifth one. What's the limit? What's the
within about 5 months or so they're having quite a bit. But you know what? Our Secretary of Transportation is saying it's no big deal. There's about 1,200 derailments a year. Did he just say 1,200 derailments a year?
He just said no big deal. Like, what in the world? Speaking of Buttigieg, I think this is what day number 31. No Greta, no Thunberg. Day number 31. Where's Kerry? No Kerry. No John Kerry. And did you see Al Gore around there, or
I think he was there. He was there. Oh no!
Probably like 10 years ago.
That was just the oil in the creek.
Oh yeah. Still no Al Gore.
Well, we'll see. The crickets are still chirping there, waiting for. I don't think we're going to be waiting for quite a while. So we gotta find out our own solutions and figure this out.
That's why old Trump had to step up.
He was fact checked recently.
Oh my god!
On CNN was saying 23 fact checks on his CPAC address. He had some wins that night though. I think he brought down the House, and they're calling it MAGA event now almost.
Yeah, Trump is like he's like the tide, right? The ocean tide, and the ones that brings in all the crawfishes. And then for some reason, when Trump shows up, all the crawlers come out. Like all of a sudden, we have all these fact checkers. Where's all the fact checking for Joe Biden? Where's all the fact checking for all these other people who has definitely violated all the factual stuff? But yeah, bro. I mean, that's more of the same.
Yeah, I saw that fact check pop up on my notifications on my phone. 23.
My goodness.
And then there's another article, another headline from CNN. Fact check: Trump delivers wildly dishonest speech at CPAC.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, like, when these things were written, were the articles, were they written before Trump started speaking? The fact checks, were they done before or after? Because it's just automatic now, where it's almost programmed.
Yeah, Trump deranged syndrome is just
still a real thing,
still going on.
Yeah,
but he did speak at CPAC, and he did win. Did you know he won the 60% of the straw poll, and DeSantis was at distant 20%.
Wow! Say that again. What was it?
60% versus 20% DeSantis.
Oh my goodness!
And guess who had to report it? Even Fox News had to report.
Wow.
The win.
Oh, the one with the band. They still.
Yeah.
Wow.
Their headline is Trump overwhelmingly wins CPAC's Republican primary straw poll, with DeSantis coming in a distant second. So they're not shutting off his speeches anymore. I guess they want to have those ratings back.
Gee, so let me get this right. I believe Paul Ryan and Rupert Murdoch got trumped on the Trump ban.
Yeah.
So that's amazing, bro. Now that means that Nikki Haley and the new guy, I forget his name, the businessman, they shared the other 20%, on that poll. 60%.
I think they're like they're less than a distant 5% for the other candidates. Perry Johnson, a businessman.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah, and so but DeSantis was 20%.
These polls never make sense to me, bro. They say a poll and then like somebody has 69%, the other person has 2%. The other person has 10%. It doesn't equal 100%. Maybe it's this public education that I have, but they never even added up to me.
Yeah, it's a straw poll of a CPAC. I think 1 year. Somebody could correct me, but Bachman or one, some unknowns won. Michelle, there you go, Michelle Bachman.
Yeah,
and she ended up not winning. She ended up dropping out of the race. But I think Trump is a little different. He's a unicorn, right? He's a
I love it, man. I really hope that he does, get his rightful place back as far as the president. I think he was definitely the one that was voted in this time around. The last 2 times around, this will be the 3rd time somebody gets elected, into office. So he gets elected into office. The other person that I just mentioned, Nikki Haley, there was something interesting about her. And speaking of Don Lemon, I was cracking up because Don Lemon gets in trouble for pointing her age out, and say, oh, she's too old, and all of that.
Past her prime.
Yeah, past her prime. And then she comes out, clowning on Biden because of his age, don't even retire. He needs somebody in his retirement.
Wow.
So it's kind of like double, come on, you can't cry. Well, the thing is, you can't cry about people, talking about your age and then come out and then use the same hatchet.
I think the difference is Biden is not not fully functional. You know what I mean? I think that's the difference. No matter, you can take the age out of it.
I hear what you're saying, bro. I hear what you're saying, but it wasn't his mental health that was in question here. He made fun of her age. She made fun of his age after she cried about Don Lemon made fun of her age.
True,
That's all I'm
true.
saying.
CPAC every year there's controversies with a lot of the speakers. I mean, we talked about Trump. There's some with Gates and Kennedy out there, but this next one, Knowles, is in special hot water because the sacred transgenderism came up in his speech, and he's calling for the eradication of transgendered people. Really? Let's see. Judge for yourself.
There can be no middle way in dealing with transgenderism. It is all or nothing. If transgenderism is true, if men really can become women, then it's true for everybody of all ages. If transgenderism is false, as it is, if men really can't become women, as they cannot, then it's false for everybody too. And if it's false, then we should not indulge it, especially since that indulgence requires taking away the rights and customs of so many people. If it is false, then for the good of society, and especially for the good of the poor people who have fallen prey to this confusion, transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely. The whole preposterous ideology.
It's I think the people heard it for themselves. There's been a lot of headlines, that try to construe what he was saying. And what they're trying to get people to believe is that he said that transgenders, should be eradicated. No, if you listen clearly, he says clearly transgenderism should be eradicated. And I think this is something that many people, your mainstream America, feels the same way. That these things, if not from life or everyday lives, at least from our school policies. At least from these places where kids go, like libraries and all that, why should they be caught up with learning about sex and all that at their age, But I actually agree with Michael. No, what do you say?
I think it's being twisted, obviously, with everywhere. I mean, the liberal media, Rolling Stone is saying CPAC speaker calls for the eradication of transgenderism. Somehow claims he's not calling for elimination of transgender people. So they are parsing words. I heard there was some retractions on some outlets because Knowles threatened to sue, and they changed just the headline without changing the actual content of it.
Damage is already done, right, bro? It's been sitting out there for 48 hours, and then they finally retract the headlines. Let me ask you something, PhillVill. Should we eradicate substance abuse?
Yeah.
Should we eradicate murder?
Definitely.
Should we eradicate home burglaries?
Yeah.
What about home burglarists? We all agree we should eradicate these things that are harmful, right? Especially to kids. We're not saying we should eliminate the people that do it.
It's the indoctrination he's referring to. It's the ideology.
Yes. Yeah. And the Bible has a great verse that really brings this, it really comes to mind with this. And that's, God loves the sinners, but he hates the sins. We can get rid of the transgenderism without getting rid of the people.
Danger alert right here. Our kids are being attacked with this ideology. Don't take my words for it. Look at this video right here. You see a drag show, a lingerie, dancing very suggestively. There's some nudity there in front of kids, babies, and toddlers. I mean, you can see it with your own eyes. I don't even know how many there are there, but and we're saying, well, it doesn't affect them. Well, this next video, here's a danger continues. A young girl, she is now the dancer. She's now dancing for money, shaking her body in a very suggestive way. Well, where does she learn this from? Well, I'm sure not from other kids. It's from adults. Loto, would you agree this is very dangerous?
This is absolutely dangerous, bro. Here's the thing about the ideology. For those of us that weren't exposed to these things in this manner as kids, it's appalling. It's horrendous. But the thing is, there's so many people who's being exposed to this as little children, and so it becomes desensitized to them, and they don't flinch at it like we do now. The thing is, when this stuff starts becoming normal at 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we have. Now we have a 5-year-old dancing for It's no longer just drag queens. It's the kids that's dancing now. They're the ones that's dancing now. This is the danger. This is why we need to not just only speak up, but now we actually need to step out and we need to stop this. And it's just like Michael Knowles said, we need to eradicate the ideology because this is the result right here.
And more results are taking place. We had some wins, yes, in women's sports. We talked about that last week, but there has been some losses. The USA Powerlifting must now allow trans athletes to compete in the women's division after transgender lifter J. Key Cooper won her discrimination case against the organization. This is a full-blown male now competing in women's sports and won this case. Is this fair? I don't think so. Loto,
I almost want to start a new, give them a new name, brother. Transgenders. It's the Women Hating Club. It's a Women Hating Club because the victims are not just children, but man, most of the time now we're seeing the victims are women.
Yes.
This is a girl sports, We just reported some great news last week about, the girl sports winning when they refused to play, against a transgender who's biologically a male, which rightfully so. They would put themselves in danger. And how does, the girls compete with those that are athletically more advanced, and more capable? So yeah, this is more from the Women's Hater Club.
Yeah, and speaking of the Women's Hater Club, there is a woke fail and continuing with Hershey, Hershe, while Hershey's hit with backlash because of boycott calls after casting a transgender activist in International Women's Day promo. So they haven't had a man, celebrating Women's Day with Hershey's, and should I even read this meme what they put out there with the Hershey's? But yeah,
it's already weird, bro. Go ahead.
It says Hershey's with nuts.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah.
Wah,
Yeah.
wah, wah.
Yeah. And again, the Women's Hater Club, the people, the victims of this are the women. We have biological male now as the poster people and as the representatives and the face of women's rights or, celebrating womanhood, so this, and again, I just want to point out, I know they had the whole, her, colored and all that, but let's not forget Hershey does begin with HE.
Oh, nice. I like that. Yeah. We're seeing just this whole woke ideology and the transgenderism. It's become its own, like this, almost like a cult in a sense. You have to believe this way. If you believe opposite,
that's the danger of it. Yeah,
you're canceled, right?
Yes.
And while speaking of cults, so there's another one. Satanic Temple's Weekend of Blasphemy sells out in Boston. In Boston, basically they're calling it SatanCon 2023.
Yeah.
They had a big old conference there in Boston and the Marriott, and they sold out of their tickets. So you know what? There is a demand, but man, this is.
How many seats was there?
They had about 2,500 seat.
Big sellout.
Yeah, big sellout. So,
I'm not gonna poo-poo on that. Yeah, I mean it's over 2,500. They sold all those tickets, so that's quite the accomplishment. But but it's 2,500 seats. Come on,
this year's themes convention is Witches Night.
Well, okay, so thank you for saying that because honestly, Phil, I am not surprised.
Yes.
This story here does not surprise me at all. The fact that they have now they have a SatanCom and they sold out the seats and all that, it's not surprised because I think I mentioned it before either on this show or Kingdom Talk. For those that if you've been paying attention, then they've been doing witch camps all throughout COVID. That was one of the things that started popping up. They had witches camps, which is like summer camp for youth. Yes. And that's where, they trained, kids to be witches, taught them how to do good spells or bad spells. I'm sorry. They're all bad spells. There's no such thing as good magic. They're all bad magic, but yeah, so it doesn't surprise me that this is where we're at. This is good though, that we're saying this on this show so people can really start waking up,
That's crazy,
and because if you think the transgender thing was crazy, now we're going to get into some spiritual things. That's why God put Overflow EXT, Kingdom Talk, KXEX, and all these other ministry lines, online, because it's about to get spiritually real, folk.
Russell Brand, Joe Rogan have, they're not necessarily right. They're not right. They're not conservatives by no means, but they have huge influence, and they have podcasts. They're in the media, tens of millions of followers that follow them. Mm-hmm. But they're just like Chris Rock, are speaking up for freedom of speech, and they're calling a spade. And here's a video of Russell Brand.
John, I've not known you long, but I love you already. But I have to say that it's disingenuous to claim that the biases that are exhibited on Fox News are any different from the biases exhibited on MSNBC. It's difficult to suggest that these corporations operate as anything other than mouthpieces for their affiliate owners in BlackRock and Vanguard. And unless we start to embrace, and also, mate, like just spiritually, if I may use that word in your great country, we have to take responsibility for our own perspective. I've been on that MSNBC, mate. It was propagandist nutcrackery on there. I went on a show called Morning Joe. It was absurd the way they carried on.
Good Morning Joe.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know what it was. It wasn't morning. There was no one called Joe there. No one could concentrate. They didn't understand the basic tenets of journalism. No one was willing to stick up for genuine American heroes like Edward Snowden. No one was willing to talk about Julian Assange and what he's suffered trying to bring real journalism to the American people. And I think to sit within the castle of MSNBC throwing rocks at Fox News is ludicrous.
My friend,
make MSNBC better. Make MSNBC great again.
My friend, I would love.
Wow, that was good, bro. I'm glad that somebody's calling the shots and calling the spade a spade. You know, balls and strikes. You know, as they say in baseball. But no, Russell is right on the money. You know, BlackRock, all these people. We got to pay attention, folks. PhillVill, I always wondered, you know, maybe it was about 15 years ago, I started to notice a trend, you know, and that was a lot, you know, like a lot of these big investors, you know, people who runs BlackRock, you know, a lot of sources from China. I started noticing, like, man, they're buying up a lot of medical information. Like, why are they gathering up all these people's medical history, you know? And it seemed like there was a few times where I noticed, like, even with the espionage, you know, a lot of those was to get medical information. And it just baffled me. Like, what are they doing? Well, I mean, man, then we get COVID, and now we see, you know, as we're going to see in a little bit, big pharma and all that, and it's all starting to make sense. You know, but you know, Russell's right. You know, NBC infamous for the brought to you by Pfizer. You know, CNN infamous for, and even Fox infamous for brought to you by Pfizer.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. You know, we see Russell Brand and Joe Rogan speaking out. I mean, there's people involved in the very beginning of this that, like, why are they involved? And here's another one with the famous scientist, other known as Bill Gates.
Everyone wants to pretend that he's just like this amazing philanthropist. Like, no, he made a lot of money. This is motivated by money, and his entire career he's been motivated by money. Yeah. I mean, he's been a guy who is really good at monopoly, and that was why they went after Microsoft so many times for monopolistic practices. I mean, he's a businessman, and in that time, his business was the business of telling people things that he's not educated in. Right? He's not a scientist. He's not a virologist. He's not a medical doctor. Yet he was this public health advocate on television telling everybody to go out and get this medical intervention that he would profit from, which is wild. It's really wild that it's that transparent, that it's not like multiple steps and shell corporations and it's really difficult to find out where the money's going. It's like right there.
Loto, is it a conspiracy theory or just conspiracy?
No, it's no longer conspiracy theories. You know, like, gosh, bro, I hate to sound like a broken record, you know, but again, see, these guys, they're just seeing things politically now. They're seeing how political things are now. They don't understand that it's been political. It's been political. And I keep saying this lately. What we're going to see, the next thing we're going to start seeing is how things have been, or how the intelligence, our IC, intelligence community has been behind a lot of these things. So the same way that the political part of everything has been exposed, so is the intelligence community, part, and all of these controversies, is going to be exposed, And so, man, I'm glad that Joe Rogan is saying something. The thing I like about Joe Rogan is that he's complaining about Bill Gates is right. That Bill Gates is acting like he's a scientist, a doctor, he's not, and Joe Rogan is quick to say that, hey, he's not an expert at any of these things, but what he does do great is introduce us to the experts. He has great, like Dr. Malone, and a lot of these people that he's brought into his show. So I'm really grateful, bro. But, he's spot on this one, bro.
I started thinking about this. I never put it together. I'll be honest with you. I was kind of ignorant to it with the Bill Gates thing. I think a lot of us kind of like, oh, Bill Gates, he has money. He's trying to help the world. And him and his ex-wife are just then all this philanthropy out there trying to make a big difference. Like, so he would know that we need to do X, Y, Z during the pandemic. But man, it was exposed that he was making money off the pandemic. I never put that together, and I'm surprised, but not surprised.
And these things needs to make us ask the question: what did Bill Gates know? What did he really know? I remember 5 years before the pandemic hit, Bill Gates is warning everybody, hey, we need to do this because in about 5 years, we're predicting that there's going to, be a pandemic. I mean, practically verbatim. That's why Joe Rogan is so astonished, because he's like, man, they weren't even trying to hide it. You didn't have to go looking through shell corps. You didn't have to go looking, dig into any files. No. Again, this is a tactic of the intelligence community to hide in plain sight, to hide right there in the front of your nose. Hoping that they'll overlook you because it's a conspiracy theory. And now we know, PhillVill, like you always say, it's no longer just theory. These conspiracies are not just theory anymore. So
nutcrackery.
Nutcrackery. Yeah. Good word, But okay, what did Bill Gates know? Which reminds me of another thing that Bill Gates is involved with, and one of his friends, and that's Tony Fauci, bro.
Yes.
Makes me wonder what Tony Fauci also knew. Well, I think we have some video.
I wanted to ask Dr. Fauci, could you address these suggestions or concerns that this virus was somehow man-made, possibly came out of a laboratory in China? You studied this virus. What are the prospects of that?
There was a study recently that we can make available to you where a group of highly qualified evolutionary virologists looked at the sequences there and the sequences in bats as they evolve, and the mutations that it took to get to the point where it is now is totally consistent with a jump of a species from an animal to a human. I mean, the paper will be available. I don't have the authors right now, but we can make that available.
Officer on the protest.
So
Okay. Not everybody in the joke.
Yeah. So I'm trying not to laugh, but this guy is man. So this is a press way at the beginning of the whole pandemic, and this is Tony Fauci citing in a research. A very, very important article, that was a writing piece that shows that the virus did jump from animals to humans, and it's undisputable. Matter of fact, I'll get the author's name for you guys, because this is common knowledge amongst the whole science community and all the virologists, who's worth anything. They agree that the thing jumped from the bat, which jumped to the train and ended up in the mountain and then got to the tree, and then the monkey ate the tree, and then somebody grabbed the monkey, took it home, and now the human that owned the monkey has COVID. Now, that would be really funny if it wasn't so serious. Here's the thing about it, right, PhillVill? Yeah. You and I both know that we just got some breaking news, earlier today or last night, that there are some emails discovered. This article, PhillVill, that Tony Fauci cited during this press release in the beginning of the whole pandemic, that all the science community that are worth their salt, they agree that it was, from animal to humans, that there was no Wuhan leak. Well, we see in the emails that were released that they found and discovered that Tony Fauci was the author of that article.
He commissioned the scientific paper.
Yes.
In February 2020 to disprove Wuhan lab leak theory, New York Post is reporting.
Yes. Matter of fact, we'll put the link on so everybody can read this because this is very important. So this is Tony Fauci acting like there's this article out there that other authors wrote. He said, I'll provide the name of the authors. He forgot to tell you he's the one that commissioned the thing. And he's the one that edited the thing. he is the author. He was the one.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, bro. Old Fauci is in some really hot water, bro, with this monkey business.
Yeah. Well, he retired to try to get out of the public eye, but I think it's time. They're going to be holding him accountable now.
Oh, what's his name? What's the Senate that his best friend in Senate, Rand Paul? Ooh,
Yeah.
he's gonna have a lot of fun with this one.
This
No,
senator?
I developed the answer. I created it.
That's right. You let it loose.
I was in my kitchen.
Right there, PhillVill, hiding in plain sight. And he's pretty much practically telling the truth. He was responsible for a lot of the funding of this thing, you know, but he's making fun of it to make us think that we're the crazy ones. I believe that there's a term for that. Was it? Oh, gaslighting, wasn't it?
Gaslighting, yes.
Gaslighting, make us think that we're the crazy one. If you really think about it, a lot of these people's behaviors is like an abusive boyfriend.
There's some news breaking out with Derek Carr, one of your favorite, if not favorite raider that has brought so much success to your team. Why don't you share the news?
Well, it looks like he's going to be become one of those who dat nation. So, yeah, it looks like they're getting pretty close, you know, with the deal with the Saints.
Movie review time. This is one on our list, but man, it's making the records already. The opening of Michael B. Jordan's Creed 3 wins title with historic $58.6 million, and you know what? And that's even without Rocky himself being in the movie this time around. What do you think? Were you going to see this movie?
We were supposed to go see the movie, but you know our schedule, bro. So yeah, we weren't able to see it. I would have loved to see it. Rocky fan, Creed fan, you know, but you know, big up on the success.
Yeah, Michael B. Jordan, he's breaking records, but they're celebrating that it's not a woke movie. It's just a great movie to go see. A good, feel good. Even though it doesn't have Rocky, I know Sylvester Stallone's still making some good money off of it. It's part of the Rocky universe. So
the guy owns the Rocky universe.
Yeah, he is Rocky.
Yes.
All right, and so now Jesus the Revolution, it continues to break the records for, especially for a Christian movie, passes now $30 million at the domestic box office, and I know that Fraser, your Kelsey Grammer, is part of that movie, that franchise. There, what do you have to say about it?
Man, right on. I'm glad. I definitely have a little bit more to say on it later on in just a few moments. But gosh, wow, 31 million. That's amazing, man. Right on for Greg Laurie and the whole team.
All right, that's it for
It's your news makers and breakers.
Man, thank you again, family, for joining us for another Overflow EXT. You know, before we sign out, I just wanted to share some things about this movie, The Jesus Revolution. Man, I cannot sing its praises enough. I mean, this is a fantastic movie. I'm really just shocked because, you know, I thought I was going to go ahead and, you know, get a few shut eyes, but no, I mean, I was glued to this movie. So for those of you that haven't seen this movie, please go and check it out. Take loved ones, fellas. This is somewhat of a love story. So take your girl out there, ladies. Take your man out there. You know, but I want to kind of just point some things that really stuck out to me about this movie, and I'm going to try not to give any spoilers away. I don't think I will, but I want to talk about a character there named Lonnie. Lonnie was actually one of the people that God used to trigger this whole revival that became the Jesus movement, and that's depicted here in the Jesus Revolution movie. Lonnie was man. I mean, this guy. If you watch the movie, you'll see his relationship with God and just the anointing on his life. You'll see the gifting that he had. You'll see, I believe it was the same guy that did Jesus. You know, played Jesus in the Chosen movies or Chosen series. He did a fantastic job at playing Lonnie. You know, I mean, just down to the little bit of, you know, the little tics that Lonnie had. You know, and but the thing is, Lonnie was this integral part of this amazing revolution. He was right there at the beginning. I would even say that he was the spark that God used, you know, to really spark this flame, you know, that still lives on today, you know, with all the Calvary chapels across this nation. But the story of Lonnie is also a sad one too. I understand that he's even written books about his life after this whole thing took place, and it wasn't a really good journey for him. Lonnie, for those, I'm not giving any spoilers away because they did not mention this in the movie, except towards, Lonnie ends up passing away, and he ends up dying because of AIDS. And that really stuck out to me. I went to go do some research about him, and there were stories of him, backsliding and going back to the world. Some said that there was drugs involved, certain relationships and all that. I know that Lonnie had a life before the revival. I know he had a life before the Jesus movement. So I can't say if, certain things happened before that and it just showed up at the end of his life. But he did not end in a good way. He ended up, I believe, in a hospice. Greg Laurie shares a testimony. You can find it on YouTube about his visit, with Lonnie. And I believe it was either him or Chuck Smith, I forget. But it was very heartbreaking. It was very heart-wrenching. And Lonnie believed that he was going to walk out of that place and get right back to the evangelism thing and get right back to ministry and all that. So I just wanted to share this with you, just with any of you Christians out there, but especially you leaders out there. Those of you who, man, God is using. Look, let me tell you something. If you're living in sin, I prayed that you don't mistake God using you as him okaying you with that lifestyle, as him okaying you with that habit, as he is okaying you with that sin. God is not okay with that sin. A few things I've learned in ministry. Do not mistake, oh man, God bless my mess with fixing your mess. So a lot of us, we fool ourselves into thinking, I can just live a certain way. And I've done this myself. That's why I'm really very passionate about it. And that's why it resonated with me so much when I found out about Lonnie. I've been there where you're doing certain things on Friday nights, Saturday nights, and have the nerve and the gall to go preach on a Sunday morning. I've been there. And I'm telling you, you think you're getting away until you start seeing certain things in your family, until you start seeing certain things in your ministry, until you see certain things even in your children. You start seeing a lot of these things, and it's like, oh my gosh, you are not getting away with it. And no, payday might not be today. It might not be tomorrow. It might not be next week. You keep messing around on God, and you keep messing around with that. Payday is coming. It is bound to come. My prayer is that you turn around. I'm not even talking just about sinning. I'm talking about being faithful with the word of God, especially for those of us that preaches the word of God. And we have the responsibility of delivering the word of God to masses. Don't you be showing up to service half-stepping, calling it in pretty much. It's obvious to us who do this that you're calling it in when you're preaching. It's like, man, this guy didn't even take time to really pour into this message. I know, I pretty much know this guy went to some YouTube channel, heard somebody preach, and then went and got a few commentaries, on the website. Man, God's word deserves more than that. Now, don't get me wrong. God can use anybody. I don't care what level of intelligence you're at when it comes to Bible intelligence. That doesn't matter. It's the anointing that removes, the burdens, and it's the anointing that destroys the yoke. But it is our responsibility to approach this word. It's preaching, it's studying, and it's reading with fear and trembling, because it is a sacred thing. And your ministry will be so much more powerful if your prep time was so much more intentional. There's things that you will pick up in your prep time. There's things that, and when you're too busy prepping, believe me, you'll be too busy to even notice the temptations around you. Maybe you're having a difficult time with certain things because you have time for certain things. You need to be more wise with your time. And you need to start utilize the time, and you need to ask God, help me to redeem the time that I might have a heart of wisdom, because it's not very wise to waste your time. I say this all the time. Your time is the most precious commodity that you own. Yeah, you can say you own your house. Stop paying the taxes, and then we'll see who owns your house. You can say that you own your car. Stop paying the registration, and let's see who owns your car. Time is the only thing that you own. Time is. Spend that wisely, and don't kid yourself. You know, we say, man, you know, we wait till last minute. We procrastinate. You know, the biggest nation of all? Procrastination. The biggest nation of all. And we just procrastinate, and we'll just wait. And then we want to show up. And here's what we do, because God ain't going to let little you mess up his program. So, of course, God's going to come through clutch, and God's going to show up and show out. People are going to get delivered. They're going to get healed. People are going to receive hope. They're going to receive peace. And you will actually think you had something to do with it. Oh, man, God moved. No, he didn't bless your mess. He fixed your mess. He fixed your mess. All in all, beloved, clean up your mess off of the stage, and that will help you clean up your mess on the stage. I want to thank you all for joining again for another episode, man. I cannot wait for the next. I can't wait for the rest of this month. Got some amazing things this summer coming up. Praise Jesus.
Thank you again for joining us. We had a great time today. Great word also. We look forward to you joining us each and every week. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you next week. Loto.
We love you all. Lord bless. See you next week.
You've been listening to Overflow, the extended conversation, obliterating social norms and overrunning the cultural corrosion with righteous rhetoric and common sense. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit us up on social media at OverflowEXT. Lord bless, and we'll see you next time on Overflow, the extended conversation.